The markets are feeling euphoric ahead of the final major piece of data tomorrow morning, the last PCE report of 2023. We're going to be discussing that, the continued rise of Solana, what that could mean for the markets, and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Welcome back, everybody. As we get going today, do us that favor that we always ask of you and is greatly appreciated. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice, so please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kevin, we are coming up on the end of the year. Got 10 days left, only a few more days of the markets being open. We had some economic data today that came out, revised GDP down a bit. We saw manufacturing isn't looking too great. The job market remains strong, and we have the final PCE reading of the year tomorrow. Expectations are that it will show that on an annualized basis, the Fed has won the battle against inflation. We shall see about that. But no matter what, based on how the market is right now, we saw a flash pullback yesterday near the end of the trading day. Things recovered a bit today, but it feels like the euphoria is starting to run very high. A lot of things continue to be, in the oversold area, but the euphoria could just explode tomorrow if we get that great PCE reading that's expected.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of hamhead TA analysts are saying that NVIDIA's got a 50% move to the upside here. So clearly euphoria hasn't said enough, but I think that's with everything that's coming out, we've seen a lot of revisions, which seems like it's been the way for a long time in this market, at least the past few months. I think that tomorrow, regardless of whatever number it is, I think the markets will rally just because it's the end of the year. It's also a time where we're going to start seeing a lot less volume. So that's why it was pretty interesting that we saw that dump yesterday, because I think a lot of people are going to start getting out of the markets, a little bit today, tomorrow. I'm not surprised that they're buying back this market today. That was the first dip that we've seen in so long. I think the last time the S&P dipped, if I would have to go back in the charts and look at history, probably December 6th was the last time, and it was only down 17 points. So seeing a 70-point dip on, the close yesterday, I can see why the markets, there hasn't been anything that's confirmed that we're not in a downtrend for the time being, but that's when you kind of have to be careful. It's like, am I buying the top, or what's going on here? So we have to see how this plays out. Tomorrow is definitely going to impact the price, but I'm not too concerned either way. I think it is going to come in a little bit cooler.
Okay, so Kevin, expecting that good inflation, does that mean that you've capitulated? Are you bullish now? Are you buying in on altcoin season? Is it time for you to deploy your capital?
Everyone fucking wishes, especially the bulls, but no, I have not capitulated one bit, not at all. I think that we're seeing core inflation globally, and I will say this, in the battle for inflation, is there ever any winner? No, it sucks being in inflation, and then when you get out of it, it sucks because everyone's unemployed. So I don't think there was any chance ever of winning this inflation battle. And if we start to see inflation cool down faster than anticipated, rates are still 5.5%. Then I think they might be cutting a little bit sooner than everyone's anticipating. So yeah, I think that I'm not bullish. I think that makes me bearish.
Wow.
More bearish.
I could not have seen that coming at all. You being bearish, who would have thought? Okay, let's keep it moving. We're going to keep it on the shorter side today. There's not a ton, it's the time of year, right? There's not a ton going on. We have PCE tomorrow, but earnings are done. Everyone's packing it in for the year. They're getting ready to enjoy the holiday weekend. So what are a few pieces? What's the most important? Like, give me the most two important things that you're looking at today that has your attention. Then we can hit a few charts and get out of here so that the people have, a good view of what is going on in the markets.
It's probably the most dangerous trades I think that are currently out there. That there's just too much money piling into both of them. So we'll take a look at those right now. First one, yesterday I was talking about VIX and OPEX days. I didn't know yesterday was VIX expiration day, meaning the VIX options expired yesterday. So anything that was out of the money was in the money very fast on that close. So when I said yesterday that we're going to anticipate bad Q4, and then we're going to anticipate, something volatile to happen around OPEX. What we saw yesterday wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing that going into January, February, March, especially with how everything is probably going to come back a little bit worse. And again, I think we are getting extremely, extremely frothy. We've been frothy for a month and a half at this point, but the VIX, I think, is one trade we need to keep an eye on. And the reason I say that, it's not because it's going up, but the reason why it's going up, right? We're looking at the S&P green today, right? 26 points up, 134 for the NASDAQ, the Dow 148. The VIX went all the way up to 1448. It was up about 6% on the day. Now, why is the VIX up?
Coinbase said almost 170, just knocking on the door of 170.
Told you guys. I mean, I was wrong to think that it could go any higher, but now that we can see what structure it's in, probably heading towards 200. But if it doesn't break 200, then probably going to put in a new all-time low sometime in the next year, 12 to 15 months, I would say. But for the VIX here, why is the VIX going up when the S&P is going up? That's not how it works, right? And we saw VIX crush recently earlier in the year, or earlier back in November, where it was just going down significantly, like 10% per day, given the S&P was down, maybe 5 points. It was a very weird place where we were seeing the VIX crush and then the S&P going up. I said down 5 points, but I meant 5 points up for the S&P. Here, we're starting to see what looks like it could be a potential bottom. I'm not saying it is the bottom. I think there is going to be a bit more VIX crush. However, I think a lot of people seeing what happened yesterday are getting really scared because they are using margin. And that's a really bad thing to be, because this is something that could absolutely blow up hedge funds. So I put Gabe Plotkin, of Melvin Capital on the front of this thumbnail today, because hey, there might be a lot more Gabes going into the next year because people got greedy. People are extremely positioned one way and they think that nothing bad could ever happen. Hey, shorting the VIX. Melvin, I can't. Did you see that movie Dumb Money?
I haven't seen it yet. I really want to see it.
It's a good watch. A little bit too degen for me in some points, but still a good movie. I liked Roaring Kitty, but when I'm seeing this here, I think that a lot of people are covering the shorts because it was so easy to make money. And we're going to take a look at the one that it was easy to make money with, and it's actually the SVIX, I believe. It's been up only for since October, just rallied. It was going down for a while when the VIX was rallying, but there's one I want to show everyone, and that's the SVIX. And this is the one that I am shorting. So the SVIX is pretty much what everyone goes into. It's an ETF for retail traders, and I mean anyone could really get into it. That shorts the VIX, right? You buy it. It's the inverse of whatever the VIX does, and it's been doing extremely well, right? Looks amazing. However, we got to go back to February 2018 because this is arguably, let me get rid of the EMAs. What happened there? Whoa, look at that. Look at this gap. Whew, straight down, right? Dropped 90% back in February of 2018. Why? Because a lot of idiots, and I mean idiots, I'm talking about people who think that nothing bad could ever happen, were making so much money on the way up of this thing because the VIX kept on getting crushed to the point it absolutely blew up in their faces. We know that as Volmageddon in 2018 happened in February. I did some research on when the VIX starts to spike often. It's around February, March. So that's something that I'm not saying is going to happen, but we need to keep an eye for if there is a spike, because a lot of people got scared yesterday. They're starting to cover their positions. Seems like the VIX is cooling down a little bit here, but this is one trade I think that it's going to blow up in the faces of a lot of people, because it's only easy money until it isn't. And that trade can change as fast as possible on you. And when there's margin involved and derivatives involved, we know that 0 days to expirations yesterday absolutely took off for people who were short buying puts on those. All it takes is one bad day for this thing to just do the same exact thing it did in February 2018. So that's one of the most important trades I think that we should be keeping an eye on. And the other thing, very simple, bonds. I mean, it looks like people are selling the bonds today. You can see that the 10-year is still under 3.9%. Get the EMAs up here. There we go. Still trading below the 200 EMA there. And then the 2-year is trading at 435, still below the 50 and 200. We're going to get the death cross, I think, maybe before the end of the year, maybe right at the beginning of the year next year for the 2-year treasury bill. Do we get any type of rally? Maybe, but this is another thing where people were short bonds and now the yields are going down. I mean, people are flocking to them. That trade's going to unwind in some way, in some fashion. I think that kind of goes in line with what's happening with the VIX, because if the yields continue to drop like crazy, that means people are going risk off, and that means that the S&P is probably going to drop, and that means the VIX is going to probably skyrocket. So it's a very interconnected trade. I think it's the most dangerous one out there that could start, the liquidity crisis for people who are doing the wrong thing, wrong side of the trade. Just something to keep in mind going into next year.
All right. We got that part out of the way. Let's look. We got to look at some of these charts.
Yeah,
Let's look
let's
at
do it.
Coinbase and let's. We see Bitcoin dominance has taken a big hit as alts have absolutely ripped, with Solana leading the way. So let's look at Coinbase. Let's keep it, a little more crypto focused because that is a lot more interesting right now than TradFi. Just this crazy volatility. But let's look at Coinbase first and then move on to crypto.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Coinbase a little bit yesterday. We said that, it broke out of this parallel channel. Thing is, in mania tops like this, where there's max euphoria, and I mean max euphoria because if I pull up the stochastic RSI, sure, the daily has a little bit more room to the upside. I think that kind of fits in line with what we were saying, maybe getting closer to that $200 level for Coinbase. But if we look at the weekly, we're at 100 and 100 on the stochastic RSI for Coinbase on the weekly, right? If we go to the monthly, probably going to be closer up there. Yep. We're at 96 and 93 on the monthly. Huge numbers, guys. Huge numbers on those. Bitcoin is obviously a driving force. And so are alts. The alts that are doing extremely well right now seem to be the big boys. They're not necessarily any of the shit coins. There are shit coins that are doing well, right? I'm not going to deny that, but we're talking about market cap here. Solana, absolute tear from the past 2 months. We'll look at Solana in a second, but that's definitely driving a lot of, excitement around Coinbase too. There just seems to be a lot of euphoria around alts. Obviously, Coinbase is going to do well. I bet the Bitcoin mining stocks like Mara and Riot are doing fairly well as going into next year. And I think a lot of people are also positioned for the Bitcoin ETF slash the halving. So we're seeing a lot of euphoria here going into the end of the year. No one really wants to take profits, deal with taxes because it's been a great year. Maybe next year they start taking profits off the top. But I say this again, we're extremely overbought. We see the volumes are coming down as the price is going up on the monthly. That's a macro indicator there. I wouldn't be surprised if we fall just short of 208 point. What is this? What's the low here? 208, 28 flat. So if we fall short of 208 and we start to tick down and we don't ever retest that or go above it, I mean, new all-time lows for Coinbase likely coming. And that's me saying 12 to 15 months out. I'll be conservative in that way, but that means that this is 100% a 5-wave structure to the downside. And then we're going to have to find some type of bottom, lower than $27 or so, probably, who knows, maybe $15 to $5 could be a level that we could see if Bitcoin, we just see a massive liquidity crisis across all of crypto because it is frothy right now, but we do know that it is kind of a liquid to some degree if we want to make the argument when it comes to stable coins. So that's with Coinbase. Any other stocks we wanted to take a look at? You can see NVIDIA is still trading in that range, I think, right now. Yeah, it hasn't broken all-time highs yet. I think there's a good chance that we could have put it in and we kind of trade just around that range there, but never say never. I think this year, if we're going to see any all-time highs, it's going to be before New Year's Eve. Yeah, but it seems like this level 497 is a pretty good level of resistance. Even though we go above it, it can't break above it and close above it consistently. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, this is one that's I think a lot of people are heavily shorting this one, so it makes sense why it's been squeezed a lot of positions out. One to keep in mind. What else what are we seeing else today that's doing pretty well? Tesla's doing okay. Yeah, Tesla's doing pretty good. Look at this wild chart here, and then comment to anything else. But look how many parallel channels I got on this chart. There's like parallel channels within parallel channels within parallel channels. This is fucking mental. I don't think Tesla's gonna go crazy here. Like I don't think it's gonna put in all-time highs. Could it go up to 300? Yeah.
Is just it looks like some angry eyebrows. Like if you look at it the right way, it looks like a really angry face. So that's what I'm getting from that chart.
Yeah, look at the monster teeth down here on the stochastic RSI. That's what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, let's try and break this down, make sense of what's going on here.
We're losing our minds here, man.
Yeah, so parallel channel, obviously this is the big one from December. This is the one we're looking at is the ABC corrective pattern, right? So we coming down here, this is our break to the upside out of this channel, makes sense. Now we're expecting to break down from this channel so that we get A, B, C. It doesn't have to go up that high. I'm just whatever it decides to top out at. And then C coming down to, relatively $64, $670, somewhere in that range. That's the target we've stayed consistent with, or at least I have. And so I think some people are definitely going to be buying a little bit higher than that. why wouldn't you, right? Especially when at these levels, I think that makes sense. But I do think that there is a case for it to be made that it goes down that low. But we're seeing the break from this parallel channel, which could take us to 300. But we're also in a parallel channel within that parallel channel that's breaking out. So that needs to break back down. So I think there's a good chance that come next year, if earnings are shit, I don't think we see $300 for Tesla. I think it makes sense that we actually go down further, and maybe we even lose this 168 level at some point in the first 6 months of 2024. That's a bold statement, very bold statement, that we lose 168 first 6 months of 2024. But I think that if we start to see, we project that the outlook is not so great and the market's extremely overbought, and we see the yields continue to go down, I could see something like Tesla absolutely just doing swan dives, like massive red candles to the downside. So interesting there. And then last thing, Apple. We know Apple had some issues early this week. We didn't really touch on it, but no more watches apparently. And we see that the China ban is actually accelerating for them. So how is that going to play into their Q4 earnings, even Q1 earnings next year? Probably ain't that great. So I'm not I'm surprised that the stock's doing this well still. But if we look at this high level, I mean, this could just be considered a relative double top, right? Wicks up here, sure, but it seems like the close levels are both below 197 at this point.
Getting that golden arches pattern.
Golden arches, yeah, I have no other pattern for that, but I think it's going down. Let's put it that way.
All right, let's go to the coin of the hour, the coin of the week, month, however long you want to say. Solana. It wicked all the way up to $95 on the nose, got rejected there, pulled back a little bit. It's marching back up toward 93 again. I mean, it's just it's been a hell of a run for the Solana maxis, the people who loaded up on $8 last year. I mean, I got nothing but respect for the people who had listen, say what you want about Solana, about SBF, about FTX, all that shit. But if you had the balls to buy Solana when everyone else was panicking and saying it was going to zero and you held until now, you deserve every bit of this, and I'm happy for you.
Absolutely. But I am still going to talk shit about FTX and
Of course
Solana. And I know I am. But yeah, if you made, like, I have no problem with people making money in this market. If you were able to do that and you made the trade, good for you. That's something it's definitely a more risk on attempt, and clearly it paid off, right? That's great. But I want to show everyone what this looks like on the monthly. Don't fucking tell me this ain't a Ponzi. I mean, look at this shit. This is October. Okay, up 79% in October. Great. November, up 54%. Great. This month, 56% to the upside. You gotta, I mean, at some point, guys, we have to acknowledge what's going on here. And, I thought this was a 5-way move to the downside. Clearly I was wrong. I mean, what could it be? I mean, it could be something like that. I'm trying to find what type of pattern it's putting in the macro, because that tells us, okay, at some point we are going to find resistance. Where are we going to find resistance? Could that be up here around 145 on the monthly? Possibly. I say that with absolute, I guess, hesitancy, because I don't necessarily believe that it should be going up this high, but I can't deny the fact of how many people were hurt holding Solana. How many people are still holding Solana? FTX is still holding a ton. They have tons to offload. And I was telling you earlier in the house that, how many people have this not on their balance sheet, right? How many people are just holding bags in some cold wallet somewhere, cold storage. So I think if we see this on, let's go to the 6 month. Yeah, look at that 6 month chart. That's up 392% from the bottom. Absolutely insane for Solana. But the thing that's really interesting to me is if we go back to the daily, we can see where it started to pump back in October. And guys, that level where it was in October, it was $22. It was less than $22. It was about $21 to $22 that it pumped from, and it's currently at $92. It's up $70 since then in a matter of 3 months. Don't get me wrong, that's very good, but what we're thinking about here in the context of what's happening, and we know that there's a lot of issues, things are extremely over frothy. People are pricing in everything ahead of time, going into a year where I think that the consumer is going to be absolutely in a lot of pain. We know that these corporations were in a lot of pain in 2022, and that goes for the banks and for people like FTX and their creditors. Seems like it's almost too good to be true. That's all I will say. And the reason I think that is because if we do look at the other coin that's doing extremely well today, Binance. Why is Binance doing so well today? Binance BNB
it's a great blockchain. It's the future of finance. That's why, Kevin. There's nothing shady about it.
I just tasted throw up when you said that. But 270 right here. It was all the way up to 274, 275 actually, right? 270, no, 274.9. Same thing. But it shot up an insane amount after they said that they're pretty much, yeah, we're screwed. We're going to be regulated by the U.S. government. There's no more KYC. Think about all the people that were on there that were not KYC, that were just pretty much shadow money. Tons of money that was flowing in and out. Now they're not necessarily going to be on there. This thing should be tanking, but people are definitely exposed to this. A lot of people who probably were on there had a lot of BNB, they got to offload it at some point, especially if they want to survive, right? I think Binance could survive if BNB goes to zero, if they're able to offload and stay solvent throughout that entire ordeal. That's a very bold statement to make, but I think that it's possible. Could this thing go higher? Yeah, I think so. I think we could see BNB go back to that 3 to 350 range. It's kind of messed up to say, but I shorted up at 347. That means it would go all the way back full trip from the beginning of this year, and that would put us, let's say right around here, 335. That will make it that. It's possible they can go up to there if we go into a mania top, and then technicals just don't matter. Similar to what we're seeing with Sol. This thing probably should be dead at this point, but if we continue to push higher and we put in a higher high from where we were back in May of 2023, then we're probably going to see if that resistance is going to keep us down. Probably, but I think it's just offering a wonderful opportunity for people who had a lot of money in BNB. Binance heavily owns 76% of all BNB, so maybe they want to dump on the market, but it doesn't seem right when you look at Matic, that's only up 2.7% today, or you look at, Cardano, something like that. Cardano's up there, actually pretty good amount today. It was down earlier, 4% or so. ETH only up 0.73%. Bitcoin, down 13%, which makes sense given the alts are doing fairly well. Link, I wonder who has exposure to Link, maybe Coinbase, but that's up, another 4, almost 5% today.
Don't badmouth Link. I don't need this from you right now. You go after Nvidia, you go after Link. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I won't stand for it anymore.
Hey man, I think that right now the market is giving you some of the best opportunity in the past 2 years to sell some of these assets. I'm not saying to sell, but they definitely are at a better value than they were a long
more
time
tax
ago.
liability before the end of the year, so that's not happening, Kevin.
I don't think a lot of people are. That's the reason why, we're not seeing some of this dip here, I think. Not that shadow banks and people who are doing illegal activities are going to pay taxes, but I definitely think that a lot of people who are believing that we're in a bull run, the ETF's coming, halving's coming, this is going to be bullish for everything. I don't want to miss the train. Let me just hold on regardless. Kind of a difficult place to be, I think, if you're retail. And again, the main thing I think across the board is volumes. Volumes are low for Link. They're decreasing on the daily. Tells me that now we're just seeing retail kind of intertrade, go back and forth. Maybe some money comes in. Matic, volumes are dropping once again. We look at the total market cap of crypto, going up a little bit, but we can see that's declining from, December 6th. It's going down as price going up. AVAX, yeah, price is going down as the price going up as the volumes are coming down here. So we're seeing that all across the board. Just tells me that big money makes the moves and the retail comes in to pick up the pieces afterwards. So that's what I'm seeing there. Anything else you want to take a look at in crypto? But I have nothing else, I think, on the crypto front.
I think I'm all good. We touched on the highlights. We'll close out the week tomorrow. We'll look at PCE. Plus, my kid just woke up from his nap, so I got to get on dad duty.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got nothing else, man. I think tomorrow's going to be interesting. I think we're getting to the place where central banks, I think Japan realizes too, part of the reason why they didn't raise rates, that inflation is cooling faster. So tomorrow could be a very, very, I guess, good day in the market, or it could be very volatile. But yeah, I think PCE is going to come back cooler.
All right. He's expecting cool PCE. I'm expecting cool. The world is expecting cool PCE. So watch it just spikes up tomorrow and everyone has to eat shit. That'll do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody for watching. If you have not yet, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, share us out on social media. Any or all of those is greatly appreciated. Have an awesome day, everybody. Stay safe in the markets, and we'll see you tomorrow to wrap up the week.
Take care, everyone.